I have watched a lot of Trump interviews and Trump rallies in the last 9 years. Trump's Wisconsin rally was the coup de grace of mentally unfit, incoherent, and insane all rolled into one. He made absolutely no sense. And what is so frustrating to me about it is the headline from Bloomberg this morning was, Trump sharpens criticism on Harris about the border. Trump made no fucking sense. I pulled some clips. I could pull clips from here until the end of the year, and we would never be able to figure it out. So let me play the first one, wherein he talks about Kamala being the border czar and the things that went along with that.
Disgusting illegal alien who was led into the United States by Kamala and her lax law. Every one of my killer. We had the great. He would have never been able to get in. She stopped every single one of them. She was the border czar. Now she doesn't admit that. Whether you call her a czar or not, she was no czar because she really wasn't a czar.
Is he sober?
I do. I think he's sober. I think he's just mentally impaired, like dementia.
Mini stroke?
Mini stroke. He makes no sense. Who's he talking about? The killer? Who killed anybody? And then he says she stopped everybody at the border. Are you saying she stopped everybody at the border or that she lets everybody in? It makes no sense. I can't understand it.
I mean, you know, this to me, he's been saying this crap year after year, rally after rally, and the media, as you just pointed out, tries to sane wash it. And there is just a percentage of the population that does not care that he sounds like this, that he's incompetent, that he's having mini strokes, that he has dementia, that he's a sociopath. They simply don't care, because when he said in 2016, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and my supporters would still love me, I think that's the only true statement he has ever said. I just got my hair, went to one of those blowout bars, and had this conversation with a girl who was blowing out my hair, and she was a Trumper. And I said, and she told me also that she was a big Christian. And I said, I'm just curious, and I mean this, I want to have a civil conversation with you. How does it bother you as a Christian that Trump is so immoral? Like, he slept with a porn star and he says all of these demeaning, degrading things about other human beings. And his behavior is, quote, very un-Christ-like. And she says, I mean, did not miss a beat. She's blowing my hair and she says, you know, all of those things happened a long time ago, and I believe he is a changed man. And I said, have you watched any of his recent speeches? And she says, no. And I said, just out of curiosity, where do you get your news? Well, I think all of the media lies.
Right.
And I think that both sides lie a lot. And I said, well, what does Kamala lie about? She says, Kamala is saying now that she won't take guns, but I'm certain that she's going to try to take everybody's gun. I'm actively trying to get an open carry permit. At this point in the session, I'm face palming, right? And she goes, what's that? And I just said, it makes me kind of sad that we're trying to create a society where people feel they have to take guns places instead of just trying to make people safe. And she said, well, my husband and I talk about it a lot. She's 25, mind you. And we have a lot of weapons in case we need to fight the government. And I said, do you all really think that you can take on the United States Armed Forces? They have the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, SEAL Team 6, and probably a lot of other black ops stuff that we don't even know about. Drones. She goes, well, that's a good point. But I just firmly believe, and she did the NRA talking point, a good guy with a gun can stop a bad guy with a gun. And I just said, thank you so much for sharing your point of view. And listener, this is Oklahoma, 25-year-old. This is just cooked in.
It's just cooked in. And what's breathtaking about that is yesterday he's running around saying Kamala Harris is mentally disabled. Like, the projection never stops. If this woman were to see his behavior just from his own mouth,
if she would excuse it.
I guess so.
She would excuse
With her
it.
open carry, she's going to stop the government. You know, you just can't help
This
these
is
people.
a person who thinks that they can take on the United States Armed Forces from their house in Oklahoma. So, I mean, I think the body of evidence of how incompetent, immoral, and corrupt this man is, for some reason, people see it and they think, that's my guy. And I mean, it's a huge problem. America has a problem beyond Trumpism.
Yeah.
That a 25-year-old girl lives in a state with a total abortion ban, and Trump is her guy.
Right.
And Jesus is her guy.
Right.
Both Trump and Jesus.
Right.
And the moral gymnastics to get there, she's got it all figured out. It was really kind of enlightening, because I just thought, oh man, because I don't ever really talk to people like that. And it was a very civil conversation. But what else you got?
So speaking of guns, this is what Trump had to say about guns in Wisconsin yesterday.
Venezuelan killers, street gangs, occupying the town with MK-47s. I know that gun very well. I got to know it very well. I've become an expert on guns quickly. My sons know guns. They couldn't believe what the story they heard.
Oh, yeah. Tweedledee and Tweedledumfuck know guns. Give me a break. His sons know guns.
Well, here's the thing. His sons go and kill like lions and tigers and bears on safari. They pay money to do it. But what I'm sitting there going, he's an expert on MK-47s. They're AK-47s, you dumb fuck. I don't even have a gun. I don't even claim to be an expert, but I know that. He wants to be president of the United States, and Tweedledee and Tweedledum know everything about guns, and he's an expert on MK-47s.
It's just, I cannot believe that we have to sit here day in and day out and talk about this person that literally nobody would let them be in charge of anything.
No.
If your children behave this way, if your parents behave this way, if your spouse behave this way, you would say, we've got to get this person help and get them committed. When Joe Biden, you know, clearly he's aged and he struggled during that debate with him. He's held to a standard, and the Democratic Party is held to a standard where it was like, we've got a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Everybody swings into action. With this guy, you got Bloomberg, Trump sharpens his criticism. That's the same speech they're talking about.
Yes.
The headline should be Trump's mental decline ever obvious in Wisconsin, in rambling, nonsensical speech where he confuses everything and claims that Tweedledee and Tweedledumfuck are gun experts. Fuck's sake.
Okay, my next clip, out of all the highlights, this is one of my favorites. He starts going on about how, but for Kamala's border policy, there would be no flies. Here you go.
Remember, there's a hat that's made that sells like crazy. Oh, there's a fly. Oh, I wonder where the fly came from. See, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have had a fly up here. You're changing rapidly, but we can't take it any longer. We can't take it any longer.
What is he talking about?
I mean, he actually said in the course of the speech, lax border policy are why there was a fly in Wisconsin by the lectern where he was standing.
Well, he's also bitching about his crowd sizes, and he's trying to blame. Do you have that teed up?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Sorry,
Play it.
Sorry, same brain.
Play it.
It's something special, but outside we have thousands and thousands of people. Would anybody love to give up their seat? So we were going to have a thing outside someplace in an area where we could have held the people. And I would say, what do you think, 40, 50,000 people at least out there. This went almost all the way to the airport. And looked like when Lindbergh landed in New York. Do you remember that? He had all the way, the Broadway, the way they used to do it. And this looked like it. But thousands and thousands of people. And they all could have had a lot of fun. Instead, now they're probably leaving and walking back home because we have a nice little room that probably holds 1,500, 2,000, maybe less. And outside you have 40, 50,000 people because the administration couldn't give us the Secret Service necessary because they're guarding because they're guarding the Iranian president.
When she debated him, she took her car and she curved the steering wheel and she parked right in his brain.
Yeah.
The people leaving early, I saw some clips over the weekend where he is like, they're leaving and he's talking about, they're not really leaving.
Right.
They're going over here and they're going to an overflow room. It will haunt him until his dying day, the way she set up all the traps in that debate. This is why he's so dangerous. And I know, viewer, you get tired of seeing the clips of Trump, but it's important because the media is trying to sane wash him. It's important that these clips be out there. It's important that you showed all these clips because right-wing media especially doesn't show all of this stuff. But this is why he's so dangerous, because Kamala and her advisors very easily said, oh, here's what we do. Talk about crowd size. Obama knew when he talked about size at the DNC. That just occupies so much real estate. And so when you get to a foreign adversary, they know exactly how to manipulate him. And they have for years and years and years. And this is why he's so dangerous and such a dipshit.
Such a dipshit. So here is what I know for a fact. Number one, $750,000 are owed to municipalities across the country where Trump has held rallies because he does not pay for the services, the water, the increased security, all of those things. He can't draw a crowd of 40 or 50,000 people. He's in a room with probably, if he says it's 1,500, 2,000, I'm thinking it's 800 to 1,200 tops. That is such an injury to him because his ego is so wrapped up in it.
It's true.
But for him to say Biden, everybody in Congress voted for more Secret Service. You have your own security. The reason you can't have all these rallies is because, number one, no one wants to go. Number two, you owe money, almost $1 million to municipalities because you don't pay your fucking bills because you suck so bad. It drives me crazy. And like you, I'm just... watching these rallies, I feel like it does make me dumber and it makes me frustrated. But I think it's important because you're just not getting how deranged and really mentally disabled he is. I mean, he's always been bad, but this is like, you need to go talk to a doctor. Like somebody who loves him and his family needs to sit him down and saying, you're embarrassing yourself.
Right. That's assuming that family would be a family of love.
Well,
I think it's
right.
very obvious. This is like a family of just breathtaking dysfunction. I mean,
to say it nicely,
I don't know that there are enough therapists or enough antipsychotic medications that could fix that. It's generational. And Don Jr. has 5 kids.
Yeah. Donald Trump has 5 kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's just too much breeding in that family.
It's just, it's humiliating that so many people see that, like that gal that I just was talking to, and they think that's their guy because they think Kamala's going to come after their guns because they need their guns to fight the United States Armed Forces.
Makes perfect sense.
I mean, it's just insane. While in the same breath telling me she was a big churchgoer.
God and guns.
It's just, it's really, we have a huge problem. And
Yeah.
I think that the way the right wing did a mass decades-long campaign regarding abortion, the only reason these people think abortion is murder is because their preacher told them that.
That's right.
Not a scientist, not a medical doctor. And we have to start a decades-long enlightening of facts, embracing facts in this country, because we are one of the only first world countries where you have a large portion, I mean, like probably pushing 40% of the population that likes to argue facts.
Right.
And that's the problem. And then what gets born out of that are Tweedledee and Tweedledumfuck, the firearm experts.
Right.
It's just
MK-47 experts right there. It's bad.
All right, guys, stick with us. Please subscribe, support our sponsors, and we will see you guys tomorrow.